was as a result of a recognition of the fact that women in our country constitute the majority within our population. And in a bid to execute our mandate of promoting inclusive development, it's like the percentage the Honorable Minister has been talking about of the youth.
The 78%.
The 78%. If you want to get it right, in terms of development of this country, there is no way you will not involve especially those two categories playing a very significant role within the economy. So that is how we came up with the idea that in the post-COVID lockdown period, we should come up with an intervention that picks out those women who are already involved in some business enterprise, some commercial enterprise, and grow in our discussions, because this was not only the Ministry of Gender. When it comes to negotiating these international loans or agreements, Ministry of Finance actually takes lead in negotiating on behalf of government. So together with finance and with the bank, they cautioned that we should not come up with an intervention that tries to recreate existing programs that are targeting the grassroots women, because already we were mindful of the fact that, for example, through the parish development model, government had started putting resources in every parish in this country, 100 million Uganda shillings, targeting those households that are outside the money economy. So you could not come up with another intervention in the form of GROW that goes for those very people. Already in every parish in this country, there is 100 million every year. And His Excellency was actually clarifying that the idea of government is that when we put in 100 million this year, the following year you don't remove the 100, you add another 100. And the idea was that by the end of the 5-year period, you would have 500 million Uganda shillings circulating in every parish, money being accessed largely by those citizens who are not bankable, because it is targeting the poor, the households that are not involved in any serious economic activity. That was the essence of PDM.
Okay.
We already had WEP, which was another project, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program under Ministry of Gender, which for the last close to 10 years, WEP is money being given by the ministry again to women at grassroots level who are not bankable. And I want to underline that word, not bankable, meaning such a woman cannot walk to a bank, to a financial institution and borrow money. So WEP encourages these women to come together in groups of between 5 and 15. Once you are 5 within a given area, government gives you money. That money does not require you to provide collateral. That money is almost interest-free.
That is WEP.
That is WEP.
Okay.
And PDM. So I want you to look at those two products which were already available. So one of the conditions when we were looking at how to support women, we were told we should not recreate programs that are already in place. PDM is adequate for that category of people. We are now looking for women who would like to grow their businesses, transition from the micro level to the small enterprise level and to the medium enterprise level. And these are women who might be working with, maybe in their businesses, 10 million and above, 40 million, and they need money. We did analytical studies, and the analytical studies revealed that women are continuously disadvantaged. Even those that are in business, they fail to access money from the commercial banks because of the high interest rates because they don't have security, because they lack business skills. Even those that are already in business are failing to open up markets. So apart from the desire for money to inject into their business and accelerate the growth and development of their businesses, we realized that there were a number of other factors that were constraining women businesses. And yet women, as we've said, are the majority within our economy. So we needed now an intervention that would pull up these women that are already doing some form of business. So right from the word go, I want it to be clear that grow was not intended for what out there we define as a woman who has nothing or who wants to start business. Because when you go to the banks, and that is why when we're agreeing on the modality of implementation of GROW, it was emphasized that we don't have even to manage these funds ourselves as government, as opposed to the other products. Because PDM, government through Ministry of Finance, transfers money to the SACCOs. From the SACCOs, the parish committees manage and see who deserves and who doesn't. So you could say it is 100% managed by government. UWEP, Ministry of Gender, working with the local governments, receives those groups that have been vetted and transfers money directly to the accounts of those groups.
So, yes.
GROW is different because the money is not transferred by ministry, by government. Money of GROW is released by the World Bank directly to commercial banks. Meaning that it is only that woman who is involved in business, because the banks have their requirements, who can then go to a bank, a commercial bank, and meet the requirements of the bank. I think the other positive element about GROW was to reduce the interest rate. Because this money is being first for women, instead of lending it out using the commercial lending rates, GROW had an interest which was agreed between government, the bank, and the commercial banks of not more than 10%. Meaning that once somebody accessed money for GROW, within a period of 6 to 2 years, you are supposed to pay back that money. So GROW is not money you take to start a business, because the bank will have to assess your sales turnover. They will have to come and look at your business to convince them that you deserve the amount of money you're asking for.
A minute. Yes, what are your target areas? If I did like that one who appeared in Changwanzi came out crying to the president that they haven't received this money, have you done enough as the ministry to ensure that you sensitize them on how they're supposed to receive and benefit, that is, if they're entitled to that GROW fund?
The sensitization, the education is of course an ongoing process. You cannot say you have done it within this month and completed. Right from when these funds started flowing, and it's not very long ago, by the way, because the World Bank released the first tranche of these monies in September last year.
Yeah.
So between September and December, those are 3 months.
I saw over 30 billion was December-st.
January and March, when we were in Changwanzi, you'd say those are about 5 months of performance. So as the money is being released through these banks, the education continues. Within GROW, there's an element of working with the women platforms. And these women platforms have the responsibility of continuous sensitization, mobilization, organizing women who are doing business, identifying them and recommending them to the banks where this money has been placed.
Before I cross to the Honorable Minister, is there transparency in all this when it comes to issues releasing funds to these women? There is
100% transparency, because as I told you, one, the bank does not release the money to us as ministry, as government. By the bank, I mean the World Bank.
Okay.
The World Bank releases the money directly to a commercial bank. And once the money gets there, and the borrowers pick that money when the commercial bank runs out of the money it was given, there is an independent auditor called KPMG. KPMG is contracted separately outside government. They go to those banks, they get the lists of all the beneficiaries, they go and verify with all the beneficiaries and confirm that what the bank has told them is what is actually what they found on ground. So there is no way even we in government can touch the GROW funds, can determine who benefits from these funds. It is purely on commercial terms and basis. And that was the intention, because the idea was that if this money is recovered from those who borrow it, at the end of the GROW project period, 2027, the bank intended that this money will now be 100% released to government of Uganda to manage. Then government of Uganda will come up with an investment vehicle under the leadership of Ministry of Finance that will now determine how these funds are going to be made available to women in business, women entrepreneurs, perpetually.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, talking about the GROW project, I want us to sink in when it comes to the youths. Let's talk about some of the programs that are put in place to address youth unemployment, because I've seen if the ministry has projects like Growth Uplift Women, now we have the youths. What have you done for them to as well promote job creation?
Before even I reach GROW, I want to inform viewers that President Museveni's government has put consideration on the youth as a top priority. I will start with the PDM, where each parish of Uganda is given 100 million out of 100 million, including Rwachitura parish, where the president is born. 30%, which is 30 million, is earmarked for the youth, strictly the youth, leaving the rest of the population to share the 70%. In our evaluation that I carried out in the region of Bunyoro and some other regions in the north, we discovered the youth were not active to participate in the PDM. They would not want to go to the parish chiefs to register, to apply for that money. So the money ended up being given to older people who are active in business. In Uganda, you call them Bajagu-jagu. So I've awakened the youth. We have been having challenges in mobilization on and evaluation of government programs. But I need to thank the President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the Vice President, and the entire cabinet, who finally found at least money that can hold 10 regional rallies where the youth will be told what programs are in place for them and how to benefit those programs, and also to know from those who have benefited, like the previous events we did in Bunyoro, where many people on TV gave feedback. So I want to thank you, Excellency, if you are viewing, for deciding to enable me move to reach out to the youth to find what they are doing. So PDM, 30% is for young people, but the young people have not been running to it. Then we have another special program, the Youth Livelihood Fund, or the Youth Livelihood Program. That is money that is readily available in Centenary Bank and the one other bank, where young people form small groups of between 5 to 10, and they are given from 2.5 million up to 12 million. They are given 24 months to repay the money as capital money. That money is given to them by government of Uganda, so they receive it from the bank, but through their association. And that money, not unlike the other money, this money is dispatched to every district of Uganda. So the district that repays back is given more money the next year. The districts that fail to pay back, they may even get 0% because the leaders or the people who received the first batch of the payment never paid. So you find that district is impacted. Like most districts in West Nile, some districts in Busoga, some districts in Bunyoro, those districts are not performing well with that program because the leaders who received the money at the beginning failed to pay back.
How are you helping them?
Now there is a paper I will present to Parliament very soon regarding on what we can do for those who failed to pay citing reasons of COVID outbreak, that they had started the business, COVID came up, they had gardens, they had tomatoes, they had this and that, so that money died out, or they lost that money in those ventures, in those capital. So we are trying to come up with a paper to cabinet as well to parliament on how can we exonerate those ones, or how can we give them amnesty, or how can we capitalize them to enable them regain to be able to pay back that money. Because that money is for paying back, it's a revolving fund. Okay. It's money that is meant to be paid back to consolidated fund, and then it is reallocated or replanted for other young people to benefit. I want to thank a few groups that I visited in Chiriandongo, in Chijunjua, in Hoima, in Nakapiripiti, and then recently I was in Kampala, Bwaise. Then I went to that road that connects you through Nansa, and there's a village there. So I went to those villages. I found young people received money to do saloons. Others were doing plating. Others were making bricks. Others were making EBCD. They have repaid back, and their circles are growing. Their groups are growing. Each individual member is benefiting. Then we have another program that we call the Youth Venture Capital Fund. This one is a revolving fund to grow capital. People with the small businesses are given more money to grow their money. You can get more details from the Department of Youth at the Ministry of Gender, or there is a whole directorate or secretariat which is headed by Madam Honorable Winnie Masco, former Member of Parliament, at Ministry on Level 1. You can go to that department. There is a desk officer. Madam Masco is there at all times to take you through on how to grow this. And then we have what we call Juakali under labor. Juakali is a program that is very, very essential, that is very good for our young people. It gives the young people, the president is skilling many at the skilling centers, but the people we are skilling, some of them don't have tools to work. At the beginning, when the president started the skilling center, he gave a few of those people items, salon equipment to work. But instead, when they received the skills and they received the equipment, most of them sold the equipment and preferred going to Dubai and the Middle East countries. Okay, and now they are trying to come back.
Honorable, let's take a short commercial break. We shall be back. The front bench continues. Don't go away.
This is the front bench.
Welcome, traveler, to the adventure of a lifetime. Rare, beautiful, and precious. Embrace the unique, unforgettable, and extraordinary. Come and explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Nemo pocket, tambula body street, shoes are my target. We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable. I'm in a plantation, but on a global mission. Internet ambition, full condition. We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable. Oro cash is gone, netaga yo kaloni, nigga mukafoni, money in the zone. We are what? Unstoppable. We are what? Unstoppable. We are good.
With you and MTN together, our ambition is unstoppable.
We are what? Unstoppable!
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
This is the Front Bench.
Well, thank you so much for keeping it UBC TV. The program, The Front Bench, I still do have the Honorable Minister for the Youth and Children Affairs, Honorable Dr. Balaam Barugahara, as well as the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Agre David Chibenge. Honorable, before we went... Yes.
Juakali is a program that equips trained young people. So it buys tents, chairs, welding machines, this and that. But the challenge we have had with that program from the past 3 years, that program has only been receiving 1 billion. That 1 billion will buy equipment to give the whole of Uganda. Every MP wants for his constituents. So you find the money allocated is too little. So this is what we are going to think. This is what we are going to propose to Cabinet very soon and to Parliament. That can we earmark 100 million to buy basic equipment for every district, so that we know how the people who benefit in the first year of that 100 million in every district. That small package can be more sufficient. For instance, you can buy maybe a few sewing machines for a district. I will give you case in point, Kamuli, and then a few welding machines for the major trading centers in Kamuli, so that young people can start their workshops. Then you can say you need the block making machine for every sub-county. So using the 100 million, but currently we have 1 billion, which is just 1,000 million. So that money we are using, 1 million. So we are using that 1,000 million, which is 1 billion, to buy equipment for the whole country. So the program is nice, okay, but the money given to it is very little. But it is a game-changing program. People who benefited are making money.
I do understand, Honorable, you're doing a lot as a ministry to ensure that you cater for the youths, but there are also challenges that they are in. We do have drugs, alcohol, abuse, violence, teenage pregnancy, and early marriages. What are some of the mechanisms, initiatives put in place to handle these mental health challenges?
Now, before I go to that, I wanted to conclude on GROW. Even under GROW, the program we spoke about, okay, young female in business. Young youth, young people who are working, who are in business, can also apply and get 10%, get a loan worth 10%. And men are applying. A few of those who didn't have the knowledge, I'm sure we are going to sensitize more people as we prepare a document to Cabinet as a ministry to ensure that people can benefit from all these very good programs that we are having. Then we have the skilling intervention through government centers or through the State House skilling centers and private institutions. It is making young people learn skills that are applicable, skills that can make them self-training. And I think those are the basic things. Then what is the other question you asked?
I talked about the challenges, people who are smoking, teenage pregnancies. What are you doing as a ministry to ensure that there is a mental health done for these?
Now we have a couple of initiatives that we have put in place with the Ministry of Health. We are working closely with the Ministry of Health to come up with a strategy on mental health with focus especially on the youth. Because as you could be aware, many young people are getting addicted to drugs, even in schools. So we are doing a multi-ministerial approach where Ministry of Education will be involved, where Ministry of Health will take a center stage, and also asking for expansion of Utarika, because those who are stubborn are running crazy and mad. So rehabilitation is needed to be put in place. So we are having that strategy of mental health with clear focus on the young people. Then also we are collaborating with partners like UN Female, the adolescence program, where member UN agencies mobilize close to $2 million. It's with them. Don't ask me for that money. It's not in the Ministry of Gender. It's under UN joint agencies. They are running a program on adolescence and the behavior change. You see, if you don't change the behavior of an adolescent or a behavior of a young person, then you are wasting time. So I need to thank the UN Women, the joint program on adolescent and youth, who are putting special focus on health of our young people. Then we are implementing the parental guidelines, encouraging parents to be open and engage, sit down with their children to mitigate against the unacceptable, dangerous behavior that are cropping up in family. You know, most families, people don't have time. Everyone says, I'm working, I'm going to work. If Agre leaves home at 5, is dropping a youngster at school in the morning at 6, he's in office at 7. He's now leaving, he's doing government work at this time. What time will he have time? The only time he has on weekend is the colleagues, his age mates tell him we are going for golf. So he doesn't have so much time. So we're encouraging parents, our parents, and the big brothers and big sisters to find time and speak to the young people on behavior and dangerous behavior that we can address it. Then also we are addressing the lack of counseling and guidance at household level. Many homes, we no longer have a senga or a koja, an uncle or an auntie, patano or matano, who can sit you down and speak to you on bad acts, on bad behavior. Don't do this, this is risky. When you do this, this happens. So we're encouraging that in home. Then protection of young people from accessing drugs and substances. We're trying to do that in partnership with Uganda Police. As I saw a video of a young lady who lives in Canada called Senga Acid. He ran a video the other day detailing us the bars that are selling substances. A crackdown is on the way. We are gathering more evidence to crack down on those bars that are selling substances. So those are some of the things that we are doing.
Okay.
Then as regards to teenager pregnancies, you asked me that as well.
Yes.
You told me ancestral reproductive, what are we doing? Government of Uganda, we have a strategy of ending early teenager pregnancies, which focuses on keeping girls in school. You know, most of the girls who are getting pregnant are these girls who are not in school. So this strategy is through primary education, through universal secondary education, through the state house skilling centers. We make these children more active. When you push a child to school, it becomes easier. Then also we are scaling up on parental guidance on sexuality. Many parents don't want to talk about sex and sex education. Many parents think it is obscene to speak about sexual things, but it is your duty, because God created a man and a woman, a girl child and a boy child, and they evolve from a baby to a teenager to a youth to a man to a woman. So it's better we tell them that when you combine a positive and a negative, you get a bad current. So we need to focus on that.
Okay.
And then the other thing, Minister of Gender is working with Minister of Health and Minister of Education to put guidelines in place, written guidelines, that young people can know the dangers of participating in premarital sex, in early sex, in all these bad sex.
Yeah.
And then also discouraging parents who are giving away their children for small bicycles or for goats and cows due to poverty levels. And how are we doing that as government? It's through PDM. A parent would have sold his child to get capital of 1 million. Now you are getting the PDM money. So when you get the PDM money, it's evolving. You've seen the president, he has shown us several people who have benefited from this program.
Thank you so much, Honorable. PS, let's talk about policies. You talked about the GROW project. I do understand there are policies that are governing this project. How are you ensuring that the policies of the ministry reach marginalized communities, especially women and children in rural areas?
Of course, these policies, dissemination of the policies, implementation of programs that government has put in place is a government-wide effort. It is not an effort of the Ministry of Gender alone. As you know, we are operating in a decentralized context of governance. And you have several structures that government has put in place. But most importantly, particularly looking at the marginalized groups and to promote participation and inclusion, the Ministry of Gender has promoted policies. The gender policy is in place. We have the integrated early childhood development policy, where together with the Ministry of Education and Sports, we are looking at the growth of a child and the conditions under which children are born and grow. And then in terms of structures that enhance participation, you know the national structures that have been put in place. Until recently, under rationalization, we've been having a National Children Authority. The National Children Authority was responsible for ensuring that children issues are pursued through the structures of government that are in place. We have now mainstreamed the National Children Authority into the Department of Youth and Children Affairs at the Ministry. But the structures for youth that we have right from grassroots level up to national level help to promote participation of youth in decision making, in leadership, and in development generally. Then you have structures for women, the National Women Council structures also right from grassroots level, as well as structures for persons with disabilities. There is a council for persons with disabilities. There is also a council for older persons. Now, all these are structures that work with and through the local governments to enhance their participation and inclusion in development. But then, the Honourable Minister has talked about PDM as well. PDM is actually a game changer. Many people focus primarily on the pillar of PDM, Parish Development Model, for financial inclusion. But PDM has 7 pillars. And amongst those pillars, there is a pillar on parish-based management information system, where all data is aggregated at parish level so that it can contribute to better planning and participation of the different categories of people. This pillar is under the leadership of the ministry responsible for ICT and national guidance. The Ministry of Gender is a lead agency for the mindset change and community mobilization pillar. But you also have a pillar on social, the social sector, where areas like education, like health, water, and sanitation. So with that kind of programming, it is possible for government to focus using these structures that are in place to plan better, because under PDM, planning begins at the parish level. And it's not only planning by government, but all the key players are converging at parish level, right from the local government and government structures. You have the partners, the NGOs and civil society organizations. You are aware that in Uganda, we are configured under in an arrangement that promotes participation of the cultural institutions, the religious faith-based organizations. When all these players converge at parish level, and with the Ministry of Gender now providing guidance, because we are responsible for that community mobilization, it becomes very easy now to galvanize participation of all the players. So PDM is just in its second year. As PDM gains momentum, you'll see a more effective government and participation by all players converging at that level. And inclusion probably at its best, because the structures that are in place are able to track. You'll know the children that have been born in a particular parish in time. You'll know the widows in a particular parish. You'll know which health facilities are there to support healthy living of the people. So all government programs, if we perfect the PDM, then the Minister of Gender will be coming in with the policies, with the strategies that can help enhance participation of all categories of people in the development of our country. And the economic empowerment programs that we have enumerated are all focusing on the people, hitherto marginalized. We have special grants for older persons so that somebody does not, the moment you retire, for those who are in service, after 60 years of age, we have a program called SEGOP, a special intervention that is targeting those people 61 plus up to 79. The moment one clocks 80, SAGE, we have a grant that government gives, still little, 25,000, but it makes a lot of meaning in the lives of those people, 80 plus. So then you are picking the persons with disability and making sure they are involved, they are useful to their communities and to themselves. The Honourable Minister has talked of these other interventions, the Juakalis, and so at the end of the day, our entrance into community is structured using those delivery mechanisms of government and promoting active participation of everybody in the development right from homestead level.
Actually, that takes me to your performance review report, which indicates about 50% when it comes to issues delivering affirmative action, law and justice, and your set targets by next year, 2026. You want to have achieved almost all your set targets. How are you willing to do this?
As I said, the whole of government approach. It is as simple as that. Once you don't handle it individually as a ministry, but you are building synergy with all the other government institutions, and all of you are converging at a common point to plan more effectively, it becomes easier to meet those targets. When we work in silos, as has been the case, and that's why the planners of this country, the framers of the National Development Plan, emphasized a programmatic approach to planning, to budgeting, to monitoring and evaluation, where we are working together as government, not in silos. And then we are also harnessing the contribution of the other players, because all of us meet at grassroots level, at parish level.
Before I move to the Honourable Minister, our time is fast spent. Maybe in the few minutes possible, how are you fighting issues of corruption? I do understand you're running a number of government projects when it comes to issues, gender and social development projects. How are you handling issues of corruption to those who are mismanaging funds within your ministry?
I think the starting point, once again, I'll go back to the issue of a government-wide approach. Like in the case of GROW project, we are working on an MOU. We have entered a relationship with the Inspectorate of Government, which has its structures across the entire country to monitor and to receive any complaints of either misappropriation. But as I said, the chances of such misappropriation are also very slim because of the manner in which a project like GROW was designed. You are not giving funds directly to a government officer to disseminate. You are giving the money through the banks. You are working with the private sector. Actually, GROW, in terms of the lending out of money, is not in the hands of government. It's the private sector foundation that works with the commercial banks, which are also within the private sector, to manage. And there are these mechanisms that have been put in place. I talked about KPMG. So beyond that, there are also these other structures of government, or which government has created, of the special interest groups. Because clearly, if you went into any village in this country, you are going to find youth are there, women are there, persons with disabilities are there, older persons are there. They have their structures at that level. If those structures are effective, they would be the ones to play the watchdog role, so that resources that have been made available by government are not misapplied, are not misappropriated. So working through such structures becomes, gives you a firmer foundation to deal with any such issues if they come up.
All right, thank you so much. Honorable Minister, as we wind up, I want your last words, but of course not forgetting about the President's visit. He's still doing a number of tours concerning the parish development model.
Before I go to the President's visit, which I will speak in Runyoro, I want first of all to inform the young people that the government has put the young people and government is putting in place priorities for the youth in development to develop the young people in the next 5 years. And it's a basic thing that government is going to do and we are going to focus on to ensure every young person can be employed, every young person can earn, every young person can have a job within Uganda and outside Uganda. What we are doing is we are going to create more programs for employment. Government is asking more investors to come and build more factories. And then the young people will be trained in internship to learn how to do things by themselves. Then also we are doing the employment policy strategy, which will encourage the traditional and the non-traditional employment space, especially like in creative art. Government is investing this financial year 18 billion in creative art, support creative art, so that so many young people are in creative. They're in music, designs, art and craft, all these things. And the government has decided to buy you a home. Creative people, you have now a home in Mutundwe. The National Theatre will be expanded. Then the government is also encouraging and negotiating with East Africa and the African Union for integration so that our trained young people can cross borders and work, thereby reducing on the pressure for unemployment. Government is putting in place ICT enabler in the next 5 years. We have a long-term plan and a short-term plan. Our short-term plan is 5 years, so government will invest a lot in ICT so that young people can employ themselves using the ICT they have learned. Then business outsourcing, BPO, that allows the youth to access employment in the diaspora. The Minister of Labour, headed by my sister Anya Kun, together with the line minister, they are moving country to country to sign big deals for young people to be exported to work in countries that lack qualified skills. As you are aware, Uganda is doing so well. So before I conclude, I want to inform you our development programs are not only for the youth who are able to run and walk, but even for the marginalized group like the disabled. We have put a program in place for the disabled where they participate in leadership in National Youth Council and all youth committees at all levels. And even in PDM, we have a grant provision for the disabled grant. Then we have money put in place still under the disabled ministry to support people who are disabled, who are in business, who can do business, or people who can earn a living, who can add something to the nation. Access to education, we're ensuring also people who are disabled can access education regardless of their status. So it's on this very note, I want to encourage UBC to finish up with the lift, Honorable Yomus and UBC. Let's do the lift to enable Honorable Asamo next time access the studio so that even the disabled can access UBC. So we need the equity, and equity should be for everybody.
Sure.
So as I conclude, I want to kwenda kutangira nywena abantu abijukuru bakabaliga kwenda kutangira omugulusi President Museveni akwijja kubunga mu Bunyoro kurora program ya PDM ekoleta nokurora program za government ezindi za bayiro no safu general sale operation recreation zona program za government zeresere zibayindure zita murugire mutambu bunaku. So Mugurusi Akik Museveni Yoweri the president ajja kuba na ikabu tiaba nyenchakara ajja kubungira omulimi butiaba nkwasaba nyena mube butiaba muule birango bitera radio 7 mutangire president agenda wo mulimo ogwo wararuga butiaba ajja kubazawo n'abantu kataito butiaba wararuga butiaba ajja kuba agenda Kikube kuroro omulimi ondi mu district ya Kikube n'abakikube nywena mu mutangire na amane mube bayingi akisaya mu mulinde n'agenda okubungira omulimu ogwo. Then Rebajo ajja kumalira mu mulimu ow'enkoko. Omusajja ayina improving the farms z'enkoko okwo mu Bunyoro, Omunyoro Irumba. Ajja kuba n'abunga mu Hoima City. Ajja kuba n'alora omuntu omulimi ogwo. Akutunga sente nyingi kandi nakozesa kataka kataito. Then wararugayo president kiro kya kasatu ajja kuba n'agenda kulaunchinga ekisaawe kyaitu kya Hoima. Kyonkusobola obagamba nti kiri mu 30-40%. So tukunira nti by December kijja kuba kiweire ekya AFCON. Then wararuga agenda university ya Bunyoro Musaba University. Basinansi Nyakatoni bakyeyambisa muno president akabadupa university eriyo tractors zira ground university genze Kikube. So tractors ku grading Kikube kwenda okusiba muno Omunyoro Canon Dr. Wamani atwaire eka 10 free of charge to build the university. So president ajja kulaunchinga foundation stone ya university yetu kandi agamba onamba bantu ba Hoima. Wararuga a university ejagenda abazo kiro kya kasatu president ajja ku meeting kiro kya kasatu ajja ku meeting abamahule Masindi State Lodge. So yo amahule otali accredited to genda State Lodge. Abala accredited mujja kumutangira State Lodge by to programs zijja kuba live UBC Hamna Radio 7. Muba radio program ezo president ajja kuba ebikaguzo n'okuguza ebikaguzo bya bamahule n'abagarukamu n'abasomesa. Then kiro kya kana president ajja kuba n'agenda ku launchinga Masini Industrial Hub Obunyoro Industrial Hub eri Chiriana Chimengo agenda kuba na launchinga industrial hub ejo. Then tuona training State House Training Institute era still Chimengo neja kuba na launchinga. Wararugao ajagenda Chiriandongo Chiriandongo mwikale n'omusaba president akajaga kita kujja Chiriandongo takujja Chiriandongo agenda ku meeting aba leader bona abembeze ba Bunyoro ejja kuba meeting irawo Chiriandongo. Wararuga Chiriandongo ajagaruka Masindi ata abamasindi nyo mugenda kuba ni murora buli kilo mwikala town amehana ni mulinda president arabo mutere jambo mujja kuba ni mutunga n'omugisa. Then kiro kya katano president ajja kugenda Kagadi amazire myaka 10 takagendaga Kagadi atagenda Kagadi kutera public rally tukwende enage emiti. So nkusaba inywena Abanyoro tinkasimire bya Rugaba inywena abakuruga Kikube Chibale Omunyoro Honero Omugurusi Matia Kasaija sister wange right honorable prime minister itwe n'Abanyoro to making sure to use Kagadi emihanda nekisahe tutagire president tukugondeza urugendo rurungi nogenda mu Bunyoro kandi tukutangira byona bijja kwa byamani muje muule okubaza kwa president muje president abagabire muje president abasime muje president abarole kandi mugambe n'ebizo byanyu tujja kusemerera kumurora.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. If you asked me what the Honorable Minister said, all I know, the President has a presidential PDM zonal tour in Bunyoro. But of course, Honorable Minister has tried to break down all the different days on how he's going to spend them within Bunyoro sub-region. Thank you so much for keeping it UBC TV, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much for sparing time to come and talk to the Ugandans and the youths so that they do understand and they know how best they can benefit from their programs. Permanent Secretary, Agre David Chivenge, thank you so much as well for sparing time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been said, and I do understand the ministry has a lot to do when it comes to issues service delivery for the youths. But I do understand the 2030 agenda of the SDG has a core principle of not leaving anyone behind. How the ministry will do it, I do not know. I am Jethro Kasaiji. Thank you so much for keeping it UBC. This has been The Front Bench. From me and the entire crew, it's a good night.
Oh, Uganda, may God